The law of supply. The law of supply is a fundamental principle in economics that states that, all else being equal, an increase in the price of a good or service will result in an increase in the quantity supplied. Conversely, a decrease in the price will lead to a decrease in the quantity supplied. This relationship reflects the tendency of producers to supply more of a good or service when they can sell it at a higher price, and less when the price falls. Here are the key points of the law of supply. Positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. The law of supply states that there is a direct relationship between the price of a good or service and the quantity supplied. As prices increase, the quantity supplied increases. Conversely, as prices decrease, the quantity supplied decreases. Supply curve. This relationship is graphically represented by the supply curve, which typically slopes upward from left to right. The vertical axis represents the price, while the horizontal axis represents the quantity supplied. Ceteris paribus. The law of supply operates under the assumption of ceteris paribus, meaning all other things being equal. This implies that the relationship between price and quantity supplied holds true when other factors affecting supply, such as production costs, technology, and number of sellers, remain constant. Producers' response to price changes. Producers are motivated by the potential for profit. When the price of a good or service rises, it becomes more profitable to produce and sell that good, leading to an increase in the quantity supplied. When prices fall, the incentive to produce diminishes, leading to a decrease in quantity supplied. Market dynamics. The law of supply helps explain market dynamics and how producers adjust their output in response to price changes. This adjustment process helps balance supply and demand in the market. Factors leading to shifts in the supply curve. While the law of supply focuses on the price-quantity relationship, several factors can cause the supply curve to shift. Changes in production costs. An increase in the costs of production, e.g., higher prices for raw materials or labor, can decrease supply, shifting the supply curve to the left. Conversely, a decrease in production costs can increase supply, shifting the supply curve to the right. Technological advances. Improvements in technology can make production more efficient, increasing supply and shifting the supply curve to the right. Number of sellers. An increase in the number of sellers in the market typically increases the overall supply, shifting the supply curve to the right. A decrease in the number of sellers has the opposite effect. Expectations of future prices. If producers expect higher prices in the future, they might decrease current supply to sell more in the future at the higher price, shifting the current supply curve to the left. Conversely, if they expect lower future prices, they might increase current supply. Government policies, taxes, subsidies, and regulations can also impact supply. For example, a subsidy for production can increase supply, shifting the supply curve to the right, while a tax on production can decrease supply, shifting the supply curve to the left. Understanding these key points and factors helps in analyzing how supply responds to various changes in the market environment. Factors affecting supply can shift the supply curve, either increasing or decreasing the quantity supplied at any given price. Here are the main factors. Production costs. Increasing costs, higher costs of inputs, e.g., raw materials, labor, make production more expensive, reducing the quantity supplied at each price level. This shifts the supply curve to the left. Decreasing costs. Lower input costs make production cheaper, increasing the quantity supplied at each price level. This shifts the supply curve to the right. Technology. Technological advancements improve production efficiency, lowering costs and increasing output. This shifts the supply curve to the right. Number of sellers. Increase in sellers. More sellers in the market increase the overall supply, shifting the supply curve to the right. Decrease in sellers. Fewer sellers reduce the overall supply, shifting the supply curve to the left. Prices of related goods. Substitutes in production. If the price of a substitute good rises, producers might switch to producing that good, reducing the supply of the initial good and shifting its supply curve to the left. Complements in production. If the price of a complementary good rises, the production of the initial good might increase, shifting its supply curve to the right. Expectations of future prices. If producers expect higher future prices, they might reduce current supply to sell more later, shifting the current supply curve to the left. If they expect lower future prices, they might increase current supply to sell more now, shifting the supply curve to the right. Government policies. Taxes. Taxes on production increase costs, reducing supply and shifting the supply curve to the left. Subsidies. Subsidies lower production costs, increasing supply and shifting the supply curve to the right. Regulations. Stricter regulations can increase production costs and reduce supply, shifting the supply curve to the left. Deregulation can have the opposite effect. Natural conditions. Favorable weather conditions can boost agricultural production, increasing supply and shifting the supply curve to the right. Natural disasters or adverse weather can damage production, reducing supply and shifting the supply curve to the left. Input prices. Increase in input prices. Higher prices for inputs like raw materials or energy increase production costs, reducing supply and shifting the supply curve to the left. Decrease in input prices. Lower input prices reduce production costs, increasing supply and shifting the supply curve to the right. These factors highlight the various elements that can influence supply beyond price changes, showing how dynamic and responsive the supply side of the market can be. Here are some examples illustrating the factors affecting supply. Production costs. Increase in costs. A rise in the price of crude oil increases the production cost for gasoline. As a result, refineries reduce the quantity of gasoline supplied at each price level, shifting the supply curve to the left. Decrease in costs. If the cost of solar panels decreases due to cheaper raw materials, solar energy companies can supply more at each price level, shifting the supply curve to the right. Technology. Advancement. The development of more efficient battery technology reduces the cost of producing electric vehicles. Automakers can supply more electric vehicles at each price level, shifting the supply curve to the right. Number of sellers. Increase. The entry of several new firms into the smartphone market increases the overall supply of smartphones, shifting the supply curve to the right. Decrease. If several car manufacturers exit the market due to economic downturns, the overall supply of cars decreases, shifting the supply curve to the left. Prices of related goods. Substitutes in production. If the price of soybeans rises significantly, farmers might switch from growing corn to growing soybeans. This decreases the supply of corn, shifting the corn supply curve to the left. Complements in production. An increase in the price of beef leads to more cattle being raised. As a byproduct, the supply of leather also increases, shifting the leather supply curve to the right. Expectations of future prices. Higher future prices. If oil producers expect oil prices to rise in the future, they might reduce current production to sell more in the future at higher prices, shifting the current supply curve to the left. Lower future prices. If wheat farmers expect prices to drop after harvest, they might increase current production to sell as much as possible before the price falls, shifting the supply curve to the right. Government policies. Taxes. An increase in excise taxes on cigarettes raises production costs, reducing the supply of cigarettes and shifting the supply curve to the left. Subsidies. Government subsidies for ethanol production reduce costs for producers, increasing the supply of ethanol and shifting the supply curve to the right. Regulations. Stricter environmental regulations on coal mining increase production costs, reducing the supply of coal and shifting the supply curve to the left. Conversely, deregulation could reduce costs and increase supply, shifting the supply curve to the right. Natural conditions. Favorable conditions. Excellent weather conditions lead to a bumper crop of apples, increasing the supply and shifting the supply curve to the right. Adverse conditions. A severe drought reduces the supply of wheat, shifting the supply curve to the left. Input prices. Increase in input prices. A rise in the price of steel increases the production cost for automobiles. Car manufacturers reduce the quantity of cars supplied at each price level, shifting the supply curve to the left. Decrease in input prices. A decrease in the price of cotton reduces costs for clothing manufacturers, allowing them to supply more garments at each price level, shifting the supply curve to the right. These examples demonstrate how various factors can influence supply, affecting the overall market dynamics and the supply curve's position. Supply curve shifts occur when factors other than the price of the good itself change, causing the quantity supplied at each price level to increase or decrease. Here's a detailed explanation of supply curve shifts, including the factors that cause these shifts and examples. Rightward shift, increase in supply. A rightward shift of the supply curve indicates an increase in supply, meaning that at every price level, a greater quantity is supplied. Factors causing a rightward shift include decrease in production costs. Example, advances in technology reduce the cost of manufacturing smartphones, enabling producers to supply more at each price level. Technological improvements. Example, new farming technology increases crop yields, allowing farmers to supply more wheat to the market. Increase in the number of sellers. Example, the entry of new coffee shops in a city increases the overall supply of coffee. Subsidies. Example, government subsidies for renewable energy projects make it cheaper to produce solar power, increasing the supply of solar energy. Expectations of lower future prices. Example, if oil producers expect future oil prices to drop, they may increase current production to sell more oil now, increasing the current supply. Reduction in the prices of inputs. Example, a decrease in the price of crude oil reduces costs for plastic manufacturers, allowing them to supply more plastic products. Leftward shift, decrease in supply. A leftward shift of the supply curve indicates a decrease in supply, meaning that at every price level, a lesser quantity is supplied. Factors causing a leftward shift include increase in production costs. Example, an increase in the cost of raw materials, like steel, raises production costs for car manufacturers, reducing the supply of cars. Decrease in the number of sellers. Example, several clothing stores going out of business reduces the overall supply of clothing. Higher taxes. Example, increased taxes on tobacco products raise production costs, reducing the supply of cigarettes. Stricter regulations. Example, new environmental regulations increase compliance costs for factories, reducing the supply of manufactured goods. Expectations of higher future prices. Example, if farmers expect higher prices for their crops in the future, they may store more of their current produce, reducing current supply. Natural disasters or poor weather. Example, a hurricane damages crops in a region, reducing the supply of oranges. Graphical representation. Rightward shift. The supply curve moves to the right from 1 S 1 to 2 S 2. A price P. The quantity supplied increases from 1 Q 1 to 2 Q 2. Leftward shift. The supply curve moves to the left from 1 S 1 to 2 S 2. A price P. The quantity supplied decreases from 1 Q 1 to 2 Q 2. Examples. Rightward shift, increase in supply. Technology. The invention of high-yield seeds enables farmers to produce more corn per acre, increasing the supply of corn. Subsidies. A government subsidy for electric vehicle manufacturers lowers production costs, increasing the supply of electric vehicles. Leftward shift, decrease in supply. Increased input costs. A rise in the price of copper increases costs for electronics manufacturers, reducing the supply of electronics. Regulations. New safety regulations for toys increase production costs, reducing the supply of toys. Understanding supply curve shifts helps in analyzing how various external factors impact market supply, influencing prices and quantities in the market.